now I'm interested in the opinions. Talk to us. What are your controversial opinions?
Right, where do we begin? If you are turning up to a house that you're selling and your car's worth more than the house, like rote-learned real estate, I think it's bullshit, and it's trained. You're a trainer, so don't hate me.
No. I'm listening respectfully. I mean, I can. Yeah.
You know, there's a way to do things, but you can't teach. The appraisal kind of means nothing in a way. It means nothing if you're too low, but it means everything if you're too high. You're going to spend that month breaking the owner's heart because you've been too optimistic just to get the listing.
It was a very long-winded summary of what would be the tips for homeowner.
three great tips, Nick. You heard it here first. Home run, baby. Thanks for watching Home Run. Hope you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It will make the world of difference for us and be able to continue to bring epic guests and great content to you.
That's right. And speaking of guests, if you have somebody that you feel like they should be on this couch, put it in the comment section, and also put any questions that you want to ask in the comment section, and we'll make sure it's covered.
Back to the episode. Welcome to Home Run. On this episode, we interviewed Nick Cowdy. Nick's a principal at Cowdy Real Estate, a boutique agency in Canterbury, and he's been featured in the Monocle magazine with a penchant for architecture. Not to mention, he's also been the recipient of the Trade Me Digital Marketing Award, which basically just means that his property adverts got better engagement and response from the market than the rest of the marketplace. So an impressive guy, an interesting fellow, and Nick, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
What are people going to get out of our chat today, do you think?
Well, I hope a lot. I don't know what topics we're going to cover, but we'll just roll through, and hopefully a bit of background into how I've kind of got into the architectural side of things, and yeah, what I do in my business. Maybe some opinions that people find unpopular, but you know.
I was going to ask about your background, but now I'm interested in the opinions. Talk to us. What are your controversial opinions?
Right, where do we begin?
You have all the time in the world. Don't worry.
So I think as an industry, there's like this push. I don't know. I think different centres have different things, but I know in Australia and maybe some parts of New Zealand, like open homes are Thursdays and Saturdays. And the industry gets some time off. But there's always one that wants to come in and say, we're going to have our advantage by not following what everyone else does, and we're going to do 7 days. And it's like, if everyone
7
got
days
together,
of open homes?
Well, like Saturday and Sunday,
okay.
Which, you know, then your work days are Monday through Friday, and then you do your open homes on Saturday and Sunday, and the general public see their work days as Monday till Friday, so you're still getting the email. So you still kind of got to work, even if you have a day off, you still got to respond. So yeah, I think everyone should get together, work out how to have a day off. Like the market will respond well because they know this is your open home days. Everyone does the same thing, and they'll be prepared to do that.
Commerce Commission, if you're listening, no, I'm joking. It's collusion. Yeah, but actually, to be fair, I came up in Palmerston North, and all of our open homes, it was always Sunday. It was Sunday was the open home day, Saturday, and there wasn't any practitioners. But then, of course, come to Auckland, and it's Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. But you don't necessarily have to, even if the marketplace is doing open home Saturday and Sunday. I'm interested in your opinion. But do you think you, as an owner, wanting the very best result, would you want your agent to do Saturday and Sunday? Is there an advantage to that?
Well, that's where it gets like, if the market understands that those are the days, then those are the days. So an owner, actually for an owner, it's probably good. They only have to get their property ready once, and it's generally accepted that that's when the open homes are. So that's when people get organised to do their open home days and their shopping.
What about the fear of missing out, which is what a lot of probably vendors will think? Because obviously most of the marketing or the duration of getting a property on the market is about 3 to 4 weeks window, right? So they obviously want to maximize as many people coming through as possible.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the pitfall is, right? I actually know a few agents that do even like midweek open homes in the evenings, Whereas I also know some agents that do only Sunday open homes, and it's not to say one of them is successful more than the other, but it'll be interesting to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I think it's again like education. So, because I find midweek open homes can be a bit of a waste of time, especially if they're in work hours. But if you're structured to know that it was Thursdays from 4 till 8 was your open home hours, then that would replace the Saturday and Sunday. So I think it can work, and for people with families and hobbies and just a life, it would be nice to allow that for people.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I've actually got, we work with a lot of agents, and one of the agents I've recently got to work with, he used to do Saturday, Sunday open homes, and recently he's decided he's only going to do Sunday. And his reasoning was that he's actually found it more effective in terms of the number of people coming through the door and higher quality feedback on doing it one day as opposed to two. And that's how he pitches that to his potential windows. And they haven't had any issues in signing him up as a result of that, which is interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so we do kind of slightly different things because in an auction, so not to sort of release any secrets out here, but human psychology, right? In an auction, you kind of want less, sorry, I've got to rephrase this in my mind.
That's all right.
So for an auction, if you disperse the crowd, so to speak, so instead of having all 20 people through at once, you've got 10 and 10, it kind of feels like, oh, there's maybe more opportunity here as a buyer. So we'll do more open homes in an auction. In a deadline or a price, we might do less open homes so there's more people in the room at the same time. So it feels like, okay, I'm really going to have to put a good offer in here because there's so many people. But
and it's such an interesting one that you mentioned about the auctions, and obviously I'm fascinated and highly engaged in the auction process. But I do think a mistake that some agents make is trying to talk up the interest on an auction to other interested parties. I don't understand why you would do that. But,
I mean, because you often hear after an open home that's been really busy of like, oh, it's going to sell for too much. And you're like, well, 90% of those people just think it's a cool house. And then the other 10% might be interested, but then now you're telling me that you're not going to be interested because you're going to think it's going to sell for too much. Like you've got to get there to know. And
I think that this stems out of potentially, though, people getting worried about what they might have to pay for a property and not necessarily understanding the market too well. And there's a huge amount of chat around the industry about kind of under-pitching and under-quoting in terms of price and that kind of thing. What's your perspective on how to run a great campaign, but ethically?
Often it'll be based on appraisals, because sometimes an owner doesn't know what's going to be they're going to accept until it's there. So is the quoting side of it's quite a difficult thing to navigate. Because if say, every owner wants to get as much as they can, right? So on day dot of a campaign, the owner might say, I want, 1.1 million, but by 4 weeks through the campaign, they might be saying, well, we'd look at 900. If you listen to that 1 million and start quoting it at 1 million in an auction on day dot, you burnt off the market, and then, it didn't sell at auction, and then you've negotiated through, now you've had the feedback and it sells for 900. That buyer out there who didn't go to the auction, passed it away because they thought it was too expensive, then they're going to be mad at the agent for quoting it too high. So it's like this lose-lose. So it's, we kind of try and work out what the no-go zone is and then let it go up from there.
It's an interesting one, but I can see the challenge that exists there. And it's why I tend to coach salespeople to not give a price indication, despite that being what a buyer might want, but to do so empathetically. In other words, if the reason that person's asking for guidance is they really don't understand what things have been selling for, provide them some sales stats so they can see where things are happening and make their own judgment on price. But the challenge is that occasionally you get an auction which sells for more than anyone thought, and then occasionally an auction will sell for less than anyone thought. So if you're giving price indication, you do risk being wrong in either direction. But mate, I'm curious to know, tell us a bit more about your background and how you got into real estate and what's your interest in architecture. How did that develop?
So it's a family business, and there was a bit of a discussion, I suppose, when we were younger. Parents definitely didn't want us to fall into real estate by, I don't know, default. So there's a lot of push away from it as well, so that when we came to the conclusion of doing real estate, it was like a decision from ourselves. So
what attracted you to it then? When did you get into it?
2010, just before the earthquakes.
Oh, okay.
I did an art history degree, then I worked in retail, then I was traveling overseas, and like I kind of remember like quite a critical moment in my mind. I think I was in a bus between somewhere in Colombia. And it's just this like click that came to mind.
Moment.
And I was like, right, it's been the biggest decision in my life has been like, when do we go to the next place and where's the next place going to be? Because we sort of had an open-ended 6-month trip. And then just feeling like, okay, now this is out of my system. I need this structure in my life. I need something to work to. And it was like quite like seeing property and seeing it happen and the kind of not that hard of the deal, but you know, that kind of thing became quite attractive very quickly. And I was like, right, I'm on my way home. Let's go do it. So that art history degree, I kind of initially was thinking I might do like an art dealer thing, then realized I'd gone down the wrong route. Because to be an art dealer and like the high end stuff, you need the relationship with the artist, which everyone already had, so you can't break into that, and you had to start art school kind of thing. And I hadn't done that. So into real estate I go. My cousin's an architect. My parents have kind of understood it, and it kind of joined together in a way. And then that interest started going through. I started to realize that most people didn't understand it as an agent. And I was like, right, well, let's get into it. So, yeah, it was a standard thing of people not, and I'll just give you an example. So, beautiful Don Donathorne house, really early one, 1950s, brick. And we went about selling it and sort of really celebrating this Don Donathorne house. And I hope people aren't listening, because this will be a little bit of a thing here. So, two offers.
They will be listening.
Yeah, they're going to listen, mate. We'll send it
a long time
We're going to send it to them.
There was only 2 offers. One person saw a beautiful original architectural house by Don Donathorne, hardly touched. The other people saw a shitty, rundown old brick house, right? And this was 2011 maybe.
And I guess the truth is that it is both of those things.
Correct. The offers were like 600,000 and 980,000.
Wow.
So the same thing, 2 very different sort of thoughts on its value. And that was a moment where I was like, there's something in this. So I got to do like interest and work at the same time.
Oh, that's
really
great.
cool.
And are you still carrying that on with your work till date? Like, do you have that love for architecture, and then you carry that forward to your execution on marketing as well? Does that differ in terms of how you look at property in your campaigns?
Yeah. So since then, it's taken quite a while, but I've gone pretty deep into it.
Good.
And there's a lot of like, it's hard to find the information. So there's on the architects or the architecture who's designed it. So you kind of have to go digging through libraries, archives, books, old phone books to find out who the original person was who lived there, like reference it with archives, and then you like find out who the person was.
Oh, wow.
Who's designed it. And then after doing it for so long, now you can pick them and put the pieces together.
Yeah.
So it's not something you can kind of just jump in and do. And that's why I've got my niche, because I'm the real estate agent person who knows the most. So then I can carry that through to what I'm doing, and then lots of, and I love it. So it's just fun.
So I said before that people don't really know much about architecture.
Yeah, so they do and they don't. They know they like it, but they don't know why. So the buzzword of mid-century is like quite through the real estate listings. People know it's a popular term, but they don't know what it is. So you have like,
what is mid-century actually? If you don't mind?
So mid-century, it kind of comes from the mid-century modern movement or modernism over.
So is this like a standard 1960s stucco state house?
No, well, that's the
because that's mid-century.
That's mid-century. So that's where that buzzword gets used.
Yeah.
And people don't quite understand where it's come from.
Abused.
Misappropriated.
Yeah. So,
so what are some of the hallmarks of an actual, as you say, mid-century modern?
So it kind of goes back to what was happening around the world. New Zealand's a little bit pushed out a little bit later because information didn't spread like it does now instantly. People need to read the books, see it, move it into New Zealand. We have our own style in New Zealand of that because our materials and stuff like that are kind of different, I suppose, to around the world. And a part of it was using kind of not the cheapest, but the available material. So a lot of remill and things like that. Christchurch is concrete block and quite brutalist. I think, I don't know as much about Auckland and Wellington, but a bit more timber, I think, with like group architects and stuff like that. So what it is it's a change of, it's a change of way of living or a change of way of looking at it. There's a lot more open plan. Like the old villas and things, the standard was that the living room faced the street. If it was north, south, east or west.
Didn't matter.
It's changed to opening the living up to the north, open plan, thinking about the way that people live a lot more and the forms.
So the floor plan actually developed in a much more user-friendly way and also more responsive to the environment.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it, I suppose. And it's post-war, so everything changed. Got a bit more experimental with the forms and stuff like that. At the same time, things are quite simple. And the theories and stuff are all a little bit different. So that's, I guess, the mid-century stuff. And it's just interesting. It's like really kind of tactile and material-based houses that just have a look and a feel, and they're kind of playful and fun.
It's hard to describe sometimes, isn't it? Because you've got the love for it, and when you go into a property that's different, you appreciate obviously the detailing or the work that's gone into it. I have a bit of a love for architecture as well. So when I go and shoot properties, I'm always the same. I fall in love with the detailing of it. And sometimes I might get a bit too carried away because I'm just like, you just really wait for the light to hit so that we can really capture this at its prime. And, whereas someone is just like, what are you doing? We just need to get a shot of the room and that's what we're selling. So yeah, it's always really interesting to balance that. But then also very hard to describe that to someone who's just probably not seeing it from the same perspective or lens as you are.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, so this approach that you have, is this something, because you've obviously been in the industry for 15, 16 years now, right? Yep. So I'm guessing that you've obviously grown up a team now. Do they follow the same ethos as you, or how do you manage that?
So I haven't really done a team thing.
That'd be interesting. Let's find out why.
Yeah. So I have Indy, who's amazing. And so I'll take that back a bit further. So Tim, who passed away a couple of years ago, was, I guess, my business partner. We worked together. Everything was 50-50, didn't have a PA, anything. We just kind of rolled, did our thing. He had an understanding for it as well, and a bit more, because he was a bit older than me, he was a bit closer to the age of the architects. And in Christchurch, small place. So he often kind of knew them and knew the stories and stuff like that. So that was cool. So Indy is his, a young woman who's incredibly capable, and so she helps out now. So the whole part of it was, I've got 2 kids now, a family, and I was back to this open home thing. I was like, I can't work 7 days anymore. So Indy does Saturday, I do Sunday. But I it's not that I don't believe in teams. I don't believe teams work for me, and I can't be I just don't think I could do the job as well as I do if I was outsourcing some of it.
Right.
Because especially this architectural stuff's quite personal. I guess I could set it up and have someone doing open homes, but...
Quick question. Have you subscribed to Home Run yet? Please like the episode, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and enjoy the show.
I enjoy that part of the job as well.
That's interesting.
Touch of micromanagement. I like things done certain ways. I believe a client is employing me or Indy or us, not, someone down the line, I suppose.
That's interesting. So how do you then see that as your growth in the industry? Or I kind of don't really chase commission or masses or numbers or trying to break any of those records. You do comfortably 50 transactions a year, I think, probably solo, or and I could probably do 50 by myself. But I don't know how much spare time I'd have. And it's just a whole different thing. You turn into a delegator, and like, I completely respect the people who do those scale models, because that's a whole skill. And I just decided that I wanted to keep it the way that I like it, and that's okay. And I think people should think that's okay. You don't need to be doing, however many transactions or $5 million in GCI.
I found it quite interesting earlier. You said how you were ready for the structure and you were ready for real estate. You were ready for the structure. And I thought that's quite peculiar in a way, because I know a lot of different salespeople, and I actually think by and large, real estate doesn't have a lot of structure in it. There's a huge amount of freedom. And so you can design your business to optimize for whatever you want. You could design it to optimize for a massive volume of transactions. You could design it to specialize in architecture. You can optimize it to, streamline as much for you, or you could, share quite generously with another person, have a partnership. It sounds like you've kind of prioritized. I'll let you sum it up. How do you prioritize?
Family first, as much as that's quite difficult to do in real estate. My poor, lovely partner is like a solo mother on a Sunday. So prioritizing family, then I'm prioritizing clients, and they can be prioritized at the same time, because I've built that structure around the days that I'm working and the days that I'm not.
Any tips on how you've managed to do that? Because I think there's a lot of agents who would say that they don't have that structural freedom in the business.
So it's time spent understanding the behaviour of the market, I suppose. And when you put up those clear defined boundaries, people do respect them. I kind of, early on even, can I view this property on Friday night at 8 o'clock? And I'm like, can we do it earlier, please? And like, no, I've got to go to the gym and have dinner first. So that was like sorry, I can't. But the younger me would have been like, yeah, no problem. Thank you, sir. What time? And then you sort of learn that those people who aren't particularly flexible with their timing generally aren't buyers anyway. In fact, I'm still yet to find the person who needs a special appointment at a strange time to ever have put in a single offer. And I'm waiting. because I'm still, in the back of my mind, I'm like, one day they will, I've got to accommodate them. But no, still haven't in
That's
15 years.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like you obviously get a lot of young ages now joining in, and all they're hearing is,
Grind
process, grind culture, and you've got to be like available 24/7. And it's great to kind of go, what are the foundations you got to put in place? And I suppose from your perspective, you dial back the early years for yourself. You're like, if I put that sooner, I would have been able to manage it better. What would be the sort of let's say if you were drilling it down to like 3 tips, what would those be for new agents or agents of just starting up? What can they do to put those foundations in place relatively early on?
You're in a service industry, so you do need to be kind of somewhat, you can't just say no, you have to come to the open homes, right? Usually I'll say that doesn't suit, but can you give me 3 other times that do? And usually something will come together. So yeah, of course you're going to make sure you can get them through a property. But it's got to suit both people in a way. So that's one, set your boundaries. It might be turning your phone off at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, or whatever time that makes it work for you. As long as you're replying, then that's fine. And sticking to your days off.
So on your days off, are you completely switched off? Or wishful thinking?
Wishful thinking. And that comes
like
to the
me.
micromanagement and like not micromanagement, so Indy can do everything, but she needs a day off as well. So it's, I can't remember exactly where I was going with that.
No, I think that I hear you quite clearly. You need to put boundaries in place around the work so that you can have a life, and that the most motivated purchasers, they're also going to prioritize making themselves available to view a property. And I just chuckled when you said earlier about how, it's got to be 8 o'clock because I've got to have dinner and go to the gym. Inherently, they're saying, I don't care that you're not going to get to do those things because you're going to be at this appointment. And so actually when you're pushing back and saying, hey, look, I'm really sorry, I can't do 8 o'clock. I could meet you there at 4 o'clock, or I could see you on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Or if you want to come through the open home at 12 o'clock, you're welcome to. Just pushing
they
back.
usually appear at the open home.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think, I respect that. I'm really interested in the piece where, that architectural thing and the knowledge around that translates into value for clients. How is that helping them? Or are you involved in helping people who are building? Or are you just involved in the marketing process? Or what's your experience and where do you end?
So all of the above. So the architectural side of things is I'll sometimes, maybe often, know more about the house than the people who own it. Just by
and that's quite unusual for an agent, eh?
Yeah.
Particularly if it is something that's architecturally designed or has, that side.
It's an interesting thing because they all come with these wee stories, I suppose. And so, how do I explain it? So I just got to find the right words. So when we're doing it, we kind of build a narrative around them.
Yeah.
Because there's more of a story about how the house or the style has developed. It might be the architect. It might be how the people lived in the homes, how it's evolved, how people have changed it. And it's not just a house anymore. And the reason,
what is it?
Well, it is, but it isn't. So, and that this way works, this kind of narrative style, because you hear the stories come back to you in a way. And that's what is kind of enjoyable when it puts some like emotive points to it rather than it's 4 walls and it's got 2 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms and it's in a great neighborhood.
So how do you take that and do you utilize that into your marketing as to how you put it together and present it? Yeah.
So this is another reason no one does what I do because it takes so much time.
Yeah.
So first of all, I sort of get a little bit carried away and like I've got to get the plans. That's my main focus. I need the plans. Then you can find out who the original owner was. often the families, we name the houses often. So say it's the built like by the McCann family or something like that, called the McCann house. And then they see it, and then the family comes through, oh, we used to live here, and little Johnny fell out that window, and like, that kind of stuff. So we found that out. Then we've kind of written this story. So there's the dialogue on the websites, which is very clear and to the point. And then when they've come to an open home, we have this like beautiful wee booklet, which has a whole different narrative in how it's written. And the plans and like really nice pictures and stuff like that. And that's another point. We put it in like a architectural lens. So the photographers we use are like magazine photographers. And it gives a whole different look. And again, no one else is probably going to do it because it costs quite a lot more than your regular photos because they're there all day. So when you're saying about capturing
the light and in the rooms,
these shoots are, they are all day. They're there, like, and you see them, they're sitting in the corner, like,
literally
looks like they're doing nothing. And they're just waiting for the sun just to come through to the perfect shot. So it kind of brings it a bit more into people like imagining themselves being there rather than, the blaring lights on and the big blue skies. It's more dark and moody. So
it's fascinating you say that. I'm sure my producer upstairs is probably laughing right now because he sees me having like endless arguments about how to make the property a lot more emotive. And so, yes, you are showcasing space, but what happens in that space? And that's where the stories come to life. It's that emotive angle, and humans tend to react better on an emotional story of what happened there than seeing just something that's really fancy. It's not that it's not good, don't get me wrong. It's amazing if you've got a really great, a living room with sun beaming in and you see it. But then if you attach a bit of a life story behind it, that certain, Johnny was here and he ran across the kitchen or whatever, somehow people can just visualize that. And then once that connects, it becomes memorable and has a massive recall value for everything that we produced in the past. Anything that we stitch a story to. So we tend to do some videos that we actually go, the vendor will give us a tour of the house. And when they start talking to us about their stories or what's happened here, we're like, would you mind saying that in front of the camera? And that's the time when we actually go to the agent. We don't need intro. We let the vendor speak for the house and actually get nuggets of that information within the video so that when they watch it, like anyone else watches it, they see what stories have unfolded in that space. And if we can, we try to, cheat the camera in recreating some of those essence, depending on what we're able to utilize. But it's amazing that those are the videos that have the highest recall value. Wherever I go, they go, hey, I remember that video where that vendor spoke that, they've been in the house for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years. And it's amazing how those videos, and they're a lot more simpler to put together from our perspective when we come to editing. Yes, it takes a long time to pre-plan and from a pre-production perspective, but they're a lot more simpler for us to put together versus like a lot of those fancy real estate videos that you do, right? But they become a lot more memorable. And it's amazing.
If you watch some of Linda Simmons' work, she does an amazing job.
And she's great. I've had a good conversation with her. She does very similar to what you're saying.
Right.
She probably not from an architectural angle, but when it comes to actually researching the house and getting the stories, it's amazing.
It's much more interesting. I think like the more of the media that there is of real estate media, like I guess, and you'll know, probably maybe not your clients, but say 80% of the videos you look at, it goes, hi, my name's Nick Cowdy and welcome to 16 Smith Street. Let's go inside and have a look. And it's like,
skip.
Fair enough.
And then, it's like, what are you going to tell me about this? All right, let's see.
I mean, it's better than nothing, for sure. But could you tell a story, pull the heartstrings, showcase the use of, actually, we went photography, videography, featuring the owners or showing the property in use. But I don't see a lot of real estate photography that actually features people using the property. It's occasional, but what do you guys think about that?
I think just butting in here. But I think from my perspective, what we see in day to day is, as Nick just mentioned, a lot of it does come down to cost. Because if you have somebody that's just going to stick around in the property for the whole day, if we go down the path of emotionally recapturing the property, that's a blend between architectural and somewhat real estate photography, right? And if you're following the light, you're pretty much staying at a property for the whole day. And that obviously, there's a cost attached to it. And somewhere that budgeting that doesn't allow it for all types of properties. So when there's a special out of the box property, we obviously feature that. And we mention it to the agent, hey, maybe you need to look at it this perspective, because we got to study the sun path, see what it's like. And this is how much it's going to cost you, because we're literally blocking ourselves for you for the whole day. That's what we tend to see most as a roadblock is the cost. Secondly, it's also, it might not actually fit all the houses. Sometimes agents will come to us and go, hey, we really want your top package because we like what you've done with this property. We'll walk into that property and we're like, it's great, but it's not coming together because the story doesn't really connect as much. So it really differs from property to property, but most of our roadblock has been budget. What do you think, Nick?
Budget, yeah, I think is definitely one thing. But one thing that we've used is taking us off the camera and putting on the architect.
Yep.
We can get the architect on board. Like, that is awesome.
Yep.
Because I hate to say it, it's their design. I hate to say it, but the public is more interested in hearing what they have to say about a house that they've designed than a real estate agent.
Yeah. It's really hard to get them in front of the camera, though.
Well, I've done it with a few, and it's been really good. But it's you just got to make sure they don't have too many coffees, like I've got the jazz today. But once they're running, like, it comes across really well, and real estate agents are starting to get used to seeing themselves on camera. So I can hear my own voice in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. But first time user, first time caller, like, they struggle to see themselves. So they think it's really bad, but it's definitely not.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, logistics does come as part of it as well, because
it's good profiling for them, right?
Yeah.
Architects, I love you all, but possibly sometimes not great at getting yourself out. Whereas we're the opposite. We probably do it too much.
Yeah, bloody agents. So let's go into the actual process, because not only have you got an appreciation for architecture, but some of your own homes have won architectural awards and been featured.
Yeah. So back to the background. It starts off, my cousin is Phil Redmond, who's PRAU Architects. We're very Christchurch central in the way I'm thinking here. So for the rest of the country, you may not have it. Well, actually, they're in all the magazines and stuff like that. Very talented, and he probably spent a lot of time with him and kind of just picked his brain, I suppose, or through osmosis, like, listened to him and what he thought. So interesting. And then down the line, my wife-to-be, had a COVID wedding that got cancelled, never got around to it, had kids instead. But she owns an architecture practice as well. So so that...
You're surrounded.
I'm surrounded by it. So it really comes in naturally to my life. And all the functions and things, and I know a lot of the architects, so I can chat to them about it, which is also great. But so back to that, so Prue, our house that we, like, our first little nest we were in, I suppose, was like I forget the dates, 1964 maybe. Alan Mitchener House, Maservi House in Christchurch, that won an Enduring Architecture Award.
An Enduring Architecture?
So, like, for the NZIA, they have awards for enduring, which is like the older houses, not the current new ones, that are still like shining today,
Oh, okay.
They're really interesting. So that was cool. Then we moved and bought it's called the Duncraft House, which has a few different iterations. It's been around for long. Has had might have 4 renovations done to it. by Nicholas Kennedy and Ian Bisman. Ian's still around, so I've caught up with him a few times. It's very interesting to listen to, his thoughts on how the house was done, because it was actually drawn by another person, Nicholas Kennedy, who passed away during the process. He took it on. So a wee book was made about that house and photographed by David Straight, which is really cool. Yeah. And then we've just finished building a house that run the regional New Zealand Architecture Awards category, and now it's a finalist in the national.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty cool. So it's all around me,
Who designed that one?
My partner, Prue, Johnstone Callaghan Architects. Look them up; they're really good.
No bias.
No,
but that's great. How cool! I wondered. I sort of hoped that you would say it was, but I thought maybe it was your cousin.
It's an interesting question though. Because she's your partner, did you guys have arguments around where his and hers going to be and everything?
No, well, it's interesting. So Prue sat on I sat on the client side because it was like the house, the wee villa I owned before we met. Yep. Earthquake stuff anyway. That meant that we start again.
Do you want to hit a home run in your property journey? If so, make sure to hit like, comment, and definitely subscribe so you do not miss out on any exciting episodes coming up.
Now, back to the show.
So it was it's an experimental spec house that I had very little to lose, I suppose, in building it. And I was like, well, if I can make this work, I could just repeat it and build more really cool houses. Haven't sold it yet, really dragged my heels, because we sort of spend a bit of time there because it's all set up, and then went back home to our, the Duncraft house up in Monks Bay. So
it sounds like you're developing a bit of attachment to this one.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it was supposed to be sold, but we've kind of just been dragging our heels. And
what have you named it?
Oh, that's a good point. It's called Low Slung, is its name. The architects came up with it. I just couldn't bear to call it Cowdy House, because a normal project, it probably would be just on the boards as Cowdy House. But because our real estate firm's called Cowdy Real Estate, it kind of just seemed a little bit self-indulgent.
The Low Slung, is it?
The Low Slung, yeah. So, and it's very much based on the style of the mid-century-ish stuff that I like. So it's just it sits quite nicely, quite low on the site, and we wanted to bring in lots of the old materials, which instead of block, it's brick, and lots of timber and things inside. Nice. But
we'll bring up some imagery of this for people watching, because
you can see it in Here magazine coming up as well.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. So we can steal a few images and just put them on the podcast.
Yeah, I think so. We have to ask Sam Hartnett.
We can credit them. So
what about their process of terms? Obviously, the design phase with the architect, and then either the architect or a draftsperson, actually doing all the working drawings and things. When have you found helpful to get the builder involved, and is there a bit of conversation there if cost is important in terms of how you actually get that vision to fruition sensibly?
It's really interesting question, because we're kind of doing so we're going to build another house, but long story, but this one was very easy to brief, because I was looking at a sell. So I went, all right, I'm a real estate agent and we've got an architect, so we can really work in some quite narrow fields.
What do you mean by that?
So I go, okay, let's think about, what does everyone want? They want 4 bedrooms. They want 2 bathrooms. They want a separate laundry and a garage. They want 2 interconnecting living rooms. They want outdoor connection. They want space to play. They want parking. So all those things.
All the practical elements. Yeah.
All the box tick.
Yeah,
you know it well.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yep.
And after 15 years of hearing it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, doesn't have this. And then pulling in kind of the emotive side of it was the outdoor area, which cost quite a lot. I was like, all right, I want an outdoor fire, a built-in barbecue, and quite a nice area, so you can kind of sell the sizzle, I suppose. You can see yourself out there in the summer with your friends, and exactly. So all these things kind of built the the brief.
Yeah.
And because the site's quite narrow, it was had to be a certain way, and had to keep budget kind of in mind when you're trying to think of
Totally. Otherwise, do we do the work? It's going to have to at least cover the cost plus some margin, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I dare say if I had to buy the land and build it, it wouldn't be feasible. Which was why I kind of went out in this way, because there's a lot of background to it, which is to do with the earthquake, which I guess with DQC it's confidential what happened there, but I had like a financial buffer in it. I wasn't paying for the whole build myself. So instead of building 3 townhouses on it, I was like, right, I'm just going to...
If you do sell this, because I hear some hesitation, but if you do sell this, someone is going to get a bargain in the sense that, there's...
there's what it costs, and to buy the land is probably more than what it's worth.
Yep. Wow.
Which kind of is a little bit counterintuitive. I could have built 3 townhouses on it and made a
squeeze more margin.
Heck of a lot of money. Yeah.
Yep.
But I chose not to. I wanted to drive past with the kids and, 30 years' time, see it there. So, we built
did that
house,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Totally.
It's kind of how my mind works is a little bit different. Well, it's probably not different to some.
Give us that list, the shopping list. If you were trying to build something that's going to have, mass market appeal, what are those boxes that it needs to tick? And how can owners avoid some of those things where they finish it and they go, oh, but it doesn't have this, or we don't like X?
Yeah. So, and this is a very interesting discussion, because when I said we're going into the next house, we're building that just for us, like a 40-year house. All those conversations disappear. We just do what we want. And that's when you're building it for yourself. I encourage that. I was like, be a bit weird, do it just the way you want it. Like, don't think about the market or resale or whatever. Just lean in. But if it is for sale, it depends on the scale of the house. So I did single level because I know like age and stage can go single level, but so can families. But if you do 2 level, age and stage is gone and you're just dealing with families. So it's like widest market. So wide market was the single level. You kind of just got to think about what's nice to live in or what you want. So interconnecting living rooms, if you've got a family to have kids, again, it's a luxury. A separate laundry, again, when I'm thinking about families, not being in the garage doing your laundry or, having sort of a mud room, I suppose, is pretty handy. An ensuite walk-in wardrobe, those type of things. And then there's a lot of thought around the view out of each window. So how the landscaping was done was really important in that house. And a sense of arrival. Again, as a resale thing, you're like, okay, the people are going to get their first impressions from the gate. Let's make sure their like entrance is nice. So instead of walking straight at the door, you just like from the street, you walk up undercover up the side of the house and then the doors to the side. So you're not opening the front door and seeing everyone on the road. And then you kind of come into like a bench seat, coat hooks and stuff. So kind of just has a little
there's
bit
a bit of an entrance and a grandness about it.
And then as it's a long house down a section, you can kind of turn the corner and see right from the back of the house right through the window out to the back garden. So like nice view lines all the way through. But that's, I guess, the architect. That's where their stuff comes in. I can give them the brief. And they do the magic.
Make some magic.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioned that, because going back, and the stats might have changed recently, but like on average, Kiwis move homes every 5 years. And there's been, there's few people that I've known who also happen to be agents that have built their dream home. And then by the end of the build, they've decided that it's not the dream home and they want to kind of do something else.
But also that's
that on the market.
But also that's the average.
Architects are notorious for it.
Yeah.
The creative juice.
It just doesn't stop, right?
They just keep moving.
Yeah. So that was my question is like, yes, you can be a bit weird and do what you want with the house, but I guess, is there a way that you balance that madness to a bit of safety in case you Or is that where the practical elements come in to go, make sure we tick on all the boxes of what you've just mentioned?
I think that's in the choice of the architect that you're using.
Right.
And
How do you
build
choose
a
the
buffer of
architect?
madness.
well, I think it's an approach of a lot of people. This is back to real estate.
Yeah.
Architect and architectural designer are very different things. Yeah. There's some extremely talented designers, architectural designers, and there's probably the opposite in architects as well. But your training to be an architect, you have to go through it and registered, like a registered accountant versus a bookkeeper, I suppose. Again, there can be some really good bookkeepers who are as good or better than accountants. So when we're in real estate listings, the word architectural has become one of those words that means jack shit now because everything's architectural.
Used again.
Every townhouse is architecturally designed, but an architect designed townhouse is a different kind of thing. So back to how you're choosing an architect, I think it's looking at their work and what you like, and then it's probably meeting them and talking to them. Because in my opinion, and these are only opinions, of course, because I'm not an architect, so people might be thinking, what's this guy about?
Married to one.
Surrounded.
Sorry, not married to one, but you live with one.
Almost. Nearly.
Almost.
Like they all have a different style of doing things. Some might be you might go to one particular architect because you don't really know what you want and they will drive it. There might be other ones that are a bit more like really want to pull out your thoughts and then build that. But I think it's like a personality thing, like who you want to work with. If you like this style and you get along with them and their communication is really good, because from my industry or our industry, communication is key. So I don't accept it when a professional on another side isn't keeping me in the loop, because that's what I try and do every day.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because we had David Ponting not long ago, and he mentioned the same thing, that the synergy is key, and then the communication thereafter, because you work for such a long period, you've got to be able to get on with each other, and that's like really important. Otherwise, the miscommunication can lead into disaster.
Yeah. I like Ian Athfield. Have you heard of Ian Athfield?
No.
Yep. So in Wellington, he's the late Sir Ian Athfield, should I say. He was like the example of a really creative, out-of-the-box architect who made these like amazing, like very interesting forms, very experimental in what he was doing. And I don't know what his process was, but when these buildings appear, they're very like polarizing. You either love them or you hate them. So that's an example of someone that you would go to if you were like
into that.
If you wanted like something just a little bit like wow, you might go to Ian or Sir Miles and Warren and Marnie. They had their particular style, and I don't know the inner workings of their minds. Both of those gentlemen passed away, but extremely beautifully well detailed houses. They're probably a bit more regimented, I suppose, than Sir Ian Athfield. So it's kind of picking and mixing what you like, and there's possibly keeping it within region there's an economy in doing that rather than moving around, but at the same time it's not too hard for people to fly around and do jobs as well. So,
where does it come into play in terms of let's go for the side of you're building something beautiful for yourself. At the same token, when you are engaging an architect, I get this sort of, oh shoot, this might make it dramatically more expensive. I guess part of that's the materials that are used and part of it is the design. Is it possible to get something that's really beautiful and stunning aesthetically, but is also built smart?
Yep.
How do you make that happen?
I couldn't tell you how that made that happen. Like the house we did is relatively cost effective.
Because?
Well, that's the architect. So Prue and Mike in their thing, they're between them both and their staff, they're pretty good at saying, I wouldn't do that, it's going to blow your budget. Because I wanted timber windows and draw windows and doors in there, and they said, that's going to be probably this much more. Like, how do we work with that? So we went with round the reveals of doors and things to be timber to get a bit of that materiality as well. So it's probably working with the people you're with, and there'll be some people who are kind of minded in that way, and others that are not. But that's when you get a builder on early. And then there's two pros and cons with that as well, because tendering it out later versus having someone involved then, you might save money in the tender by competition, but you might save money in having the builder on early who's helping you make these decisions. So that's just I don't know. I wouldn't know how to answer that question, definitely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the landscape in Christchurch. What have you seen change in the last sort of 15 years?
So we had the earthquake, obviously, so which kind of decimated the market for a kind of relatively short period of time. And if you've been keeping in touch with the whole country for a long time, Christchurch has kind of just been this like gradual, steady, I guess it's the sweetheart in the country at the moment. And they released a lot of land in the outskirts of town after the earthquake to keep the demand and supply quite even. And I think in the longevity of the whole cycle, that's been what's really helped. Now they're facing a little bit of an issue where these developments are starting to spread into like quite arable land. So now they're trying to kind of bring it back in. So yeah, it's been up and down. COVID obviously even was about 40%, I think, from 2020 till peak of increase, but we've kind of just done that a wee bit since then.
So it didn't have the big drop that a lot of the other country had.
No, we're kind of back at peak-ish.
Are there two markets though in Christchurch? Existing homes, that weren't quake damaged versus, the newer build stuff, and maybe even like your townhouse and more high density stuff.
Yep, totally. So I still haven't quite figured out who buys them all, because there's lots of different ways of selling the townhouses. Lots of people who sell them, whether it's like investment companies or real estate agents or direct to developer stuff. We generally sell our ones through to owner occupiers. And then there's this massive investment market that I have no idea where these buyers come from. So you got that market, you've got the post-quake builds, which are, I guess, more expensive. And then you've got the pre-quake builds. So yeah, there's kind of three distinct markets out there at the moment. And then, of course, land's the most valuable asset. Sometimes a piece of land is worth the same with or without a house on it. It could have something that looks like a nice livable house, but it's actually still only worth what the land's worth because of its developability.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and that's not a bad thing, because the land's really valuable because of its potential.
Yeah. But back to the architectural stuff, which I'll just could talk about it forever. But that kind of butts the trend. You kind of have that depreciation of a building, and it keeps going downwards and downwards. But with the architectural stuff, it's kind of like goes down a wee bit and then keeps going up.
Keeps going up, yeah.
Because it's kind of this appreciation. It's such a personal, like when we talk about just leaning into what you want, these decisions have been made really. There's been so much time put into it. There's this architect that's like fretted about how it is, and the owner's getting the plans and they're going, well, we're going to live like this, so let's change this. So it's like a real synergy between the people doing it, and then the builder is doing something that's not just out of a box as well. So they get really behind it, and there's craft in there and everything, and it sort of it just keeps going through generations.
So are you seeing a lot of those in Christchurch, are you seeing a good mixture of these architectural homes and sort of the run of the blocks type housing that's happening?
Yeah, the architectural homes don't come up as often. So I would love to say I could base my whole business off that, but there's not enough. And it's because the people who get them stay in them. You know, you don't see them turning over time and time again. And that's because they're just fun to live in. Hey, the 60s ones, they might be cold as hell, but, you know, like the one we had was like a bedroom up in a mezzanine upstairs. And
bit of character.
Yeah, the character. The reason that had come about because it was one bedroom and then it got turned into two because the lady who built it had a baby during the build process. And like, it's just, I don't know. It just excites me. It's a fun way to live. You know, if you're in this standard low ceiling, boring old house, you'll be like, it's just a house.
Do you want to hit a home run in your property journey?
Please like the episode, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and enjoy the show.
Interesting.
What you said right near the beginning that you had a few controversial opinions, things that you believe that maybe others don't. Open homes.
Yeah, open homes. It was like I was trying to think of them on the spot because there's a few of them. They just come out from time to time.
I saw I'll help you out. I saw one of your social media posts about cars.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us about that one. That was funny. You should listen to this one.
So I did a whole lot of filming like 2 years ago, right? And I kind of forgot about it, and then we're starting to post it out now. But one of them was about cars and like, does an agent in their car kind of matter? And my opinion kind of moves around a wee bit on it because I think it's in context. And what I said in that was, if you're turning up to a house that you're selling and your car's worth more than the house, like maybe it's not going to go down that well. Likewise, if you're turning up to a $10 million listing in an old beta, it's probably, park around the corner.
Uber
there. But, and then there's this like, the person who leases the death out of a car or like, puts themselves in stress to buy this like fancy car to look cool, when it's like the stupidest financial decision you've ever made. I probably don't respect you driving that car because this sounds really bad as well, because you can't afford it. Because you only take your own way of thinking and put it out on the world. Like to me, you buy a car you can afford, and that's what you do. And flashiness isn't like a thing that I'm.
Is that still again kind of coming under that pressure because the industry norm has become such?
Well, like I've heard a story about a particular owners of a particular brand, of a franchise of a brand, like getting the young agents, taking them down to the car lot and being like, you need to get into this, to put pressure on their agents to have to sell to pay their debts, like that's old school. This is old school. This isn't recent.
What? My sales manager, when I first started in real estate, and it would have probably been maybe like 6 months in, I had started to build up a bit of momentum, making some sales, and he's like, now you need to buy a house. I'm so glad he was encouraging me to buy a house.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, I must be a skeptic, because I remember thinking to myself, I feel like he wants me to do that to get me into debt, to make me more.
Well, you're smart and switched on then.
But you know what?
Yeah.
He always said to me, David, make money selling real estate, build wealth buying it.
Totally.
And as I say, and the other, well, actually the owner of that business, and he wasn't the one giving me the advice in this case, but he used to drive, he had like he had a Ferrari, he had a Lamborghini, he had like a big V12 Mercedes, but
done it all.
He drove around in the Gem. Shout out to Keith Marriott. The Gem was a 1994 Honda Accord, and he would drive it through the subdivisions, and the bumper would get knackered. It was such a great car. So I never wanted a real fancy car. I still don't.
I'd have to close that part of it off by saying, if you really enjoy cars and that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for the wrong reason, you're an idiot. And like I love cars, but my cars are not my cars I drive to work, because I don't want to look like a guy who drives those cars in the public. So they're like my incognito.
You feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable telling us what cars you got?
Yeah, well, I've got all older cars.
Yeah, I love classic cars.
Because not only the financial, I like the, in a world where everything's kind of like automated and automatic and stuff, you're like a manual, you've got a key, you've got like hardly any driver assistance. And so we've got an old Defender.
Oh, nice.
Which is fun, and a 911, like a 90s 911, the last air-cooled.
Beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah. And then I've got a 968, which is another Porsche, but don't know how long I'll keep that one for. And then an old BMW as well. But
M3?
No, it's just a very low Ks convertible, just a cruiser that kids can go on as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, that's just a little like.
So you pick and choose which one to take to the appraisal.
No, Nick's not taking any of these to the appraisal. I feel like he's driving. It's not quite a Prius, but I feel like it's something vanilla.
Yeah. So no, that's fun.
No, fair enough. Nick, it's been amazing to have you on here. Before we wrap this up today, I just want to kind of just get a summary from you, because we get a lot of homeowners listening to this podcast. If you were to kind of summarize, like maybe down to like 3 or 5 points, 3 better, is like, what should they be expecting, or what should they be questioning the agents coming in to appraise their house?
That's a great question. So you're either a person who's going to like a system and be attracted to the person who sells the most houses, right? Personally, it's very difficult in real estate because there's no 2 houses the same, and if they were 2 houses side by side for sale at the same time, then their values are just going to drop because there's 2 of the same thing. So it's very hard to prove who gets more money for a house, who does better, or anything like that. So I would be looking at kind of most the intelligence of an agent, and because rope learned real estate, I think it's bullshit, and it's trained from, you're a trainer, so don't hate me.
No, I'm listening respectfully. I mean, I can,
there's a way to do things, but you can't teach, I guess, emotional intelligence or understanding.
You can't teach brilliance. You can't, and I think it's not just the emotional intelligence side of things. You can't teach an ethos. The thing that Harp's talked about hustle culture or whatever it was, the grinding thing. I do think there's a need for professionalism and a strong work ethic, but that doesn't have to be burn the candles at both ends.
Correct.
Never have a life. Your family hates you. Your wife divorced you. And we see that with some salespeople. But on the flip side of it, there are, there's some salespeople who, and like as a trainer, whilst I can give dialogue, I generally try to teach principles, because I want a salesperson to be able to put their own language together, understanding the moving bits behind the scene. But you could learn some slick dialogue, maybe come across well in a 30-minute conversation with the seller. But I think you've got to press and prod and actually try and understand the beast behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the appraisal is the part. So I always look at it like what our business does in D&I, or the whole of Canterbury real estate, we look at it like we set them up to knock them down, So the setup starts at the appraisal, doing the research. Like an agent should be able to demonstrate where they're coming to their appraisal value for. There's no point in really, the way I look at it is you've got historical data to work with. You should be able to demonstrate where in the line the property you're looking at sits and why. The appraisal kind of means nothing in a way. It means nothing if you're too low, but it means everything if you're too high. Because you're going to spend that month like breaking the owner's heart and breaking their kind of will because you've been too optimistic just to get the listing. So it's a real balance between optimism, because no one wants a grumpy pants at the end who thinks the sky's falling and their house is worth nothing. So it's kind of a balance in there. And I've always, just the nature, I don't want to let people down, so my appraisals are generally not the highest appraisal, but at the same time you're trying to tell them like, but don't worry about it, because by the time we get our marketing, put the other hat on, we'll make sure we get everyone there. So back to your question, I think looking at the person, thinking how they make you feel, I guess, heard, or you might like someone who's a real bulldog and flashy and aggressive. You might want someone who's a little bit calmer and balanced, I suppose.
Yeah, personality plays a big role, doesn't it?
And there's no right or wrong.
I often help sellers. Like I'll have people reach out to me, and I don't sell, but I know a lot of agents, and I'm considering there'll be half a dozen agents in that area that I think do good work, for example. But I'll be thinking personality-wise, who's going to work with them. But like if it wasn't one of those half a dozen agents, it's not to say there's not other good agents out there. But I say to sellers, you want to look at the appraisal to see that the agent's understood your property and knows what they're doing, understands the market and its context. And then the number that they give you, like, sure, it's interesting, but they have no control over that. You as the seller have control over what price you'll accept. But it's more important to understand how are they actually going to engage the market, what's their strategy for getting the best out of it, and how well will they communicate with you so that you can make a good decision about what price to accept. And also the confidence that they've helped you to get the most out of it. And I also think it's quite interesting, you talked about doing the research piece. I do a bit of compliance training as well, and there's plenty of agents who don't spot the red flags. The owner doesn't know either. They're halfway through the marketing campaign, a buyer points out some defect with the property, there's the campaign side rail, they're rushing to the finish line. But if it's been spotted 3 months earlier, like something else could have been done about that.
I think with experience, and you can beat experience with just pure enthusiasm, but there's an experience piece. If I walk into a house, and I'll be wrong sometimes, but I can kind of be in there and I go, I know people, the feedback I'm going to have is the road noise doesn't have this. So already I've built.
You can see what some of those negative bits are going to be.
Or the bits that people love. The owner quizzing about a river boundary, is that going to be a deterrent or a positive? And well, there's no real answer to that, because for some people it's going to be a positive and some people it's going to be a negative.
Probably depends how high up the house is from that river.
Well, it does depend on that. It's more the kids falling in and things like that. But I'm a big believer in there's no absolutes in the world. There's no one way to do something. And that's when scale and business, which was part of one of my unpopular kind of opinion pieces there, is once you scale, you're going to be working towards probably an auction business, which is like, I love auctions. They're a very, very good method of sale for the right property. But when you're scaled to a certain size, you basically need to be running auctions as most things because of deadline.
What do you say the reason for that is?
For the scale size? Well, it's the efficiency of it. So instead of spending your afternoons running around getting offers, everyone's coming to you in one place and your deal's done. And the negotiation happens in a shorter period of time, which is a great asset. At the same time, but some properties, say a first-time buyer property, you're going to turn off 3/4 of the market because they're not going to know how much it is. They've got a finite resource that they can use, and you might get them to an auction and you might successfully get to the auction, but you haven't heard what those 10 other buyers who will be conditional for 10 working days are going to pay. And then it's the owner's decision is, would you wait 10 working days to find out what could have been? And we've often seen it by, $100,000 or something like that given the person the time to deal with it, they'll be more competitive. Again, no absolute. Some of those first-home buyer properties might just absolutely fly and cook beyond. So it's trying to look at it.
I'm just sitting here biting my tongue because I've sold plenty of auctions to first-home buyers in ultra-competitive situations, and I just look at it, at least in the current market, which at the time of writing is a pretty balanced market, right? So, those buyers in multi-offer situation generally are not throwing crazy money at it to secure it, because there's another option if we miss out on this one. Whereas in that situation where they're actually competing at auction, they've made the commitment to be there, and sure, we might not have 10 offers in there, but the ones that we might might have whittled out of the ones who hadn't made an application for finance yet anyway. So they're not in a position where they're just getting approval for this property. They just haven't been through those hoops yet. So they're less likely to be the strongest, most motivated buyer. And then you put them there and they can see, well, he just said 600 and that was like our max for it. But mum and dad are here too, and they're giving us the pat on the back to keep going. So, all right, 5 more. All right, 5 more. And the next thing, there's been another 50,000 more, which, the parents have helped tip that in. I just go, I don't think that happened in a multi-offer.
Yeah.
But anyway, we could
do this all day because you obviously see the examples that you see.
Yeah. And you can find examples on the flip side of it. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets interesting. We often do a guided deadline. So we'll have an offers over price. Obviously, the owner must be in a position where at the deadline, if that offer's coming in, they need to seriously be considering that offer. They can't go and put 599 and expect 700. If 600 comes in at the deadline, we've had this conversation. You're accepting it within reason. And the last one had sold for $695 on that, and there was no chance of anyone getting in an auction position because of the way the brokers are saying there's all kinds of things that go on.
One creative solution, which I don't...
You're going to say blended auctions? Oh, those...
Yeah, well, not every agency will do it, and not every salesperson, for whatever reason, seems capable of running this. But I've got a couple of agents in mind who it's not uncommon for me before I kick off with the auction. They'll say, just so you know, we've got 4 offers in an envelope here. They can't bid at auction, but we're going to open it up with the seller if we're not over and above the reserve. And sure enough, that situation happens. Sometimes the seller will say, well, I'm not going to make a call until I've seen them, and we open them up and we compare the cash money with the conditional. So there's some creative ways that it can be done. But I think it's harder to convince a buyer to put their eggs in the basket when they know that it's going to auction. So I see the arguments both sides.
There was a very long-winded summary of what would be the tips for homeowner.
Three great tips, Nick. You heard it here first. Home run, baby.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we're probably out of time now. But Nick, it's been a pleasure having you. I know you made the effort to come all the way from South Island to here and to our show. Hopefully when you're next round, we'll get you again and talk more properties and more architecture. Yeah. And by then, if your property is ready, we'd love to see some more image of when it's finished.
Yeah. Number 2.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much, Nick. Pleasure having you.
Mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.